Welcome to the ReInvigorate Childcare Stabilization Grants Webinar 1 for Family Childcare Home Providers. For the purpose of this webinar, eligible providers include licensed family childcare homes, licensed group family childcare homes, and license-exempt providers. This webinar has been designed to support you in your understanding of the ReInvigorate Childcare Stabilization Grants and how you can apply. In this four-part session, we will cover Part 1, Introduction, Purpose of the Grant Funds, and Detailed Grant Overview. Part 2, a step-by-step instructions for applying. Part 3, Fund Spending Guidance. And Part 4, a review of some frequently asked questions and technical assistance opportunities. This session is approximately 60 minutes. This is a self-paced webinar. You can start and stop it at any time. Section start times are noted in the PDF script accompanying this presentation and posted in the description of this video. Now, let's get started. Part 1, Introduction and Grant Overview. In the last year, childcare providers across Rhode Island have continued to provide crucial childcare services for families during the COVID-19 public health emergency. The Rhode Island Department of Human Services, DHS, recognizes the depth of commitment of providers like you and how COVID-19 has significantly impacted your businesses. In March 2021, the federal government passed the American Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA, which provides billions of dollars in new child care funding to states. In Rhode Island, more than $57 million was designated in child care stabilization grants for eligible child care providers. DHS is excited to offer this opportunity to apply for ARPA funds, which will be distributed through the ReInvigorate Child Care Stabilization Grants. The purpose of these funds is to support the child care system in stabilizing their business models throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, so they can continue to effectively and safely serve young children. While the state has distributed child care stabilization grant funds in the last year related to COVID relief, ARPA presents a new opportunity for stabilization and brings with it new guidance for use of funds, which will be explained later in this webinar. Information related to ARPA may be found on the Office of Child Care website at www.childcareeta.acf.hhs.gov. All licensed family child care home providers, as well as license-exempt providers recognized by DHS, are eligible to apply for this grant. If you're temporarily closed due to public health, financial hardship, or other reasons relating to the COVID-19 public health emergency, you are also eligible to apply. To be eligible to apply for and receive these funds, family child care home providers and group family child care home providers must be currently licensed by DHS, and their license must be active with programming open and available. License-exempt providers must be currently recognized by RIDHS. Licensed group and family child care home providers and license-exempt providers are eligible for a flat rate award amount based on their program type. DHS will disperse a single lump sum payment, which includes 6 months of funding. For family child care home providers, each monthly flat rate grant is $2,000, allowing for a total grant award of up to $12,000. For group family child care home providers, each monthly flat rate grant is $3,000, allowing for a total grant award of up to $18,000. For license-exempt providers, each monthly flat rate grant is $400, allowing for a total grant award of up to $2,400. These are fixed amounts. The department holds the discretion to modify this amount based on information submitted by applicants. As noted on the screen, DHS is administering all 6 monthly grants in a single payment to home-based providers to reduce the anticipated administrative burden of needing to apply during multiple application windows. Monthly grant awards were calculated using the 2021 Child Care Market Rate Survey 75th percentile full-time private pay tuition rate and the average reduced enrollment of 25% as reported in the 2020 COVID-19 Impact Survey Series. DHS aims to approve 6 monthly grants to all eligible applicants. Home-based providers will apply once and receive their 6 months of funding in a single payment. The application window will be open from October 20th, 2021 through February 4th, 2022. Let's see how this grant program looks different for different provider types. Maria is a family childcare home provider who decides to apply in October when the application goes live. She receives her lump sum payment in early November. Since she is a family childcare home provider, the lump sum payment is a total of $12,000, which is 6 monthly awards of $2,000 each. Since she is approved in November, her grant award period, in which she must remain open and abide by grant guidelines, is through May 2022. Carrie is a group family childcare home provider who becomes licensed in December of 2021. Since she is newly licensed, she is eligible to apply for the grant. In January, she submits her application and is awarded a lump sum payment of $18,000, which is 6 monthly awards of $3,000 each. Since she was awarded in January, her grant award period, in which she must remain open and abide by grant guidelines, is through July 2022. Federal guidance allows for broad use of grant funds by providers in stabilizing their businesses, including purchase of or updates to equipment and supplies needed to respond to the COVID-19 public health emergency, goods or services needed to maintain or resume childcare, mental health supports for children and employees, personnel costs, including payroll, compensation, benefits, or other recruitment or retention costs, personal protective equipment or cleaning supplies and services, rent, mortgage, utilities, or facility maintenance or improvements. These categories will be explored in more depth later in this webinar. It is important for providers to understand that there may be tax implications upon receiving these funds, as grant funds are recognized as business income. Where a program receives funds in 2021, any unspent funds may be recognized as taxable income in 2021 filings. As such, based on program needs, a program may choose to wait to apply for their funds in 2022 if they are unsure of their ability to spend their award prior to December 31st, 2021. If you have specific questions about the tax implications for your program, we recommend you contact a tax professional. For example, Mary is a family childcare home provider who would like to use her grant award to make needed repairs to program space. If she applies for the grant in November and receives her award in December of 2021, she is concerned that she may not have time to find a contractor to complete the update before the end of the year. So, she decides to wait to apply for the grant until January 2022 to give herself plenty of time to hire the right professional and spend the funds next year. The tentative timeline for grant-related activities is as follows. The week of October 18th, 2021, Webinar 1 is released. October 20th, 2021 through February 4th, 2022, the rolling application window is open. And in spring 2022, a required spending poll will be shared with home-based providers to understand how providers use their funds. DHS aims to disperse funds within 30 business days of approval of each grant application. Providers may receive their approved grant funds through direct deposit or checks. DHS highly recommends providers take advantage of the direct deposit option, as it will ensure a faster, more efficient delivery of funds. If you elect to receive a paper check, receipt of funds may be delayed by up to 30 business days. For questions related to setting up a direct deposit, please contact childcaregrants@pcgus.com or call us toll-free at 833-930-3540 for assistance in English and Spanish. Part 2. How to apply. This grant application is available on the same application platform as the previous Child Care Stabilization grants from spring and summer 2021, meaning you will use the same login and password utilized to access this application. Please note, while you may have a household member or outside support person help you complete the application, the licensee must be the individual whose name appears on the application and who ultimately submits the application. For faster processing of your application, we strongly recommend that you apply using the same email address that is on file with DHS Child Care Licensing. If you're using a different email address, you will be asked to validate via the email address on file with DHS that this new email is authorized to apply for the grant. While this validation process is necessary to protect against unauthorized applicants, it does add to your application processing time. If this is your first time applying for a grant on this application portal, you may need to create a new applicant profile if you have not already done so. If you need assistance in creating a new applicant profile, please refer to the document titled How to Create an Applicant Profile, available in English and Spanish at kids.ri.gov/funding opportunities. When the application is live, you will receive an email with a link to the application. The link will also be available at kids.ri.gov/funding opportunities for you to refer to and access at your convenience. If you cannot access the application, please contact us at childcaregrants@pcgus.com or toll free at 833-930-3540. When you navigate to the application link, start by bookmarking the page. This will make it easier for you to access this application website in the future or as needed to revise your application. Remember, if you need to complete the application in Spanish, select Spanish from the language drop-down at the top left of the grant application screen. From your applicant profile, you can submit new applications, view submitted applications, and edit applications that require attention. You can also check on the status of your application from your applicant profile. If you are a new applicant, meaning you have not applied for or received a Child Care Stabilization grant from this portal, we recommend having a few things handy. 1. A completed and signed W-9 form. Submission of this form is a required part of your grant application. 2. Your DUNS number. 3. Payment information, such as your bank account number, routing number, and account type. Resources on how to find or request a DUNS number, complete a W-9, or identify payment information may be found on the application checklist or FAQ posted at kids.ri.gov/funding opportunities. If you are a returning applicant who received an award during previous grant rounds, previously submitted information, including the DUNS, W-9, and payment information, will be utilized in executing this award unless you actively inform our team that new information should be relied upon. Using previously submitted data will make completing your application easier. If you have questions or need to update any of this information, please contact Child Care Grants at pcgus.com. Remember, you may start and stop working on your application at any time. If you stop working on the application prior to submitting it, it will be saved automatically as a draft, and you may return to it through the home page of the application portal. You will be required to enter information into all the fields marked with an asterisk. When you're ready to begin, simply select Start New Application. The application is organized into 6 sections. 1. Welcome and instructions. 2. Program information. 3. Demographics. 4. Program and enrollment status. 5. Program expenses and plans for spending. And 6. Attestations and certifications. In the Welcome and Instructions, you will find basic information about the grant program, including award amounts and the link to online provider resources. Next, you will scroll to the Program Information section. Here you will be asked to select your provider type from the drop-down list. You will either select 1. Family Child Care Home or Group Family Child Care Home, or 2. License Exempt. If you select Family Child Care Home Provider or Group Family Child Care Home Provider, you will then be asked to select your provider ID from the drop-down menu. Your licensee name will be alongside the provider ID. If needed, you can also type into this field to search for the auto-populated information. This provider ID is the ID located on the bottom left of your DHS Child Care license. If you select License Exempt as your provider type, you will be asked to select your name from the drop-down list. Once a provider ID or License Exempt provider name is selected, basic program information will be pre-populated into the application for your review. This includes your name, address, and if your program was awarded a Child Care Stabilization grant in spring or summer of 2021. 2 checkboxes will appear in this section asking if 1. You need to update your program information. If you notice that any of this pre-populated information needs correction, select the checkbox and complete the fields needing updates. Or 2. Your provider ID or license exempt name is not found. If you are newly licensed or you do not see your provider ID or license exempt name in the drop-down list, select the checkbox and complete the fields as prompted. As a reminder, programs who are awarded a Child Care Stabilization grant in spring or summer of 2021 will not be prompted to enter their W-9, DUNS number, or payment information. Previously submitted data will be used to issue future awards. If you have questions or need to update any of your banking information, please contact childcaregrants@pcgus.com. If you did not receive a grant award or selected that your provider ID was not found, you will be prompted to enter your program's name or doing business as DBA name and enter your program's DUNS number. For information on how to find or request a DUNS number, please review the FAQ posted on kids.ri.gov/funding opportunities. You are also required to upload an up-to-date signed W-9 form to the file submission on this form. If you do not have an up-to-date signed W-9 available, you can download a blank W-9 from the application form for you to complete and sign. You can also visit www.irs.gov for access to a blank W-9 form at any time. If you need any assistance, you may contact TA in English and Spanish at childcaregrants@pcgus.com or toll free at 833-930-3540. Applicants who have not yet received an award will be prompted to enter banking information to receive your grant award. You will be asked if your program has a checking or savings account. If it does, you will be prompted to enter your program's bank account information for direct deposit, including the name of account holder, account number, routing number, and whether the account is a checking or savings account. Direct deposit is the recommended approach for receiving grant funds due to the efficiency of processing and dispersing funds. If you select the option to receive a mailed check, you may elect to receive your check to the business address listed on your W-9 form or to the program address on file with DHS. Please keep in mind, electing to receive a paper check may delay payment up to 30 business days. If you need assistance setting up a direct deposit pathway for your business, please reach out to childcaregrants@pcgus.com. The next section is demographics. In this section, you will be asked to identify demographic information about the program owner, including their gender, race, and ethnicity. This information is required to complete per federal guidance. It is for data collection purposes only and will not affect award amounts or determinations in any way. Then you will move to the program and enrollment section. Here you will be asked the current operating status of your program, whether it is open or closed due to COVID-19, your program's licensing status as of March 11, 2021, the date the federal law initiating this grant was passed, and if your program accepts DHS subsidy as a part of the Child Care Assistance Program, CCAP. You will also be asked to report the total number of children enrolled in your program. Then you will be asked to enter the percentage of open seats in your program, meaning if a new family called today, would there be availability for you to serve their child? For example, if your program is licensed for 6 children and there's 1 seat available for a new child to begin attending, you would enter 16%, since there are 16% of seats in your program are open. That is 1 divided by 6. We recognize and understand that this number may be an estimate or average over the course of the day. The following section will ask questions about your program expenses and planned use of funds. Here, you will be shown a list of program spending categories and be asked to enter your average monthly expenses in each category. As you enter figures in each spending category, a field will automatically total the expenses to show your total average monthly expenses. Next, you will see your program's potential monthly award based on your provider type. As a reminder, this is an anticipated potential award amount, and your program's actual award may differ. You will be asked to compare your average total monthly expenses to the projected award amount and answer the question, does the estimated grant amount reflect your total average monthly expenses? If you feel the award amount is reflective of your expenses, select yes. If you do not feel the grant reflects your true costs, select no. Finally, you will be asked to attest that the information provided in this section is accurate. Then, you will be asked to share your program's spending plan for these grant funds. You will be presented with spending categories, which are the same categories as the question above, and may select the spending categories where you anticipate spending grant funds. You will also be asked to confirm that the grant award funds will be spent within at least one of these spending categories. We recognize that spending plans may change based on program needs. The intention in this question is to affirm funds will be spent within these categories broadly. For example, if a provider selects that they will spend grant funds on rent or mortgage and goods or services, then only spends grant funds to pay their rent or mortgage, their attestation to spend within these categories is still accurate. Similarly, if they decide to spend grant funds on mental health services, their attestation is still accurate, even if they did not select the checkbox for mental health services, simply because it is still an allowable spending category. This information will help DHS understand the needs of providers and where funds need to be spent to stabilize the sector. In the final section, Attestations and Certifications, you will be presented with several statements required by federal and state guidance related to the receipt and use of funds within this program. They include 1. That your program is open or has a plan to reopen within the next 15 days. 2. That upon receipt of funds, your program will remain open for at least 6 months. And 3. You will notify DHS immediately of any changes in operating status. Here, the intention is to award programs who are open and can remain open to serving families. If you are unable to agree to these stipulations, additional information may be requested. Please note, where programs close permanently after receipt of funds or a licensing action is taken against a program, DHS may take action to recoup a part or whole of the grant award. You will also be asked to attest to maintaining health and safety guidelines as required by DHS, continuing to pay at least the same amount in weekly wages and maintaining the same benefits, if applicable, to staff for the duration of this grant, which is 6 months after receipt of the award, and providing relief from tuition for parents struggling to afford childcare to the extent possible, and prioritize such relief for families struggling to make payments. These requirements were established in federal guidance under ARPA. The intent here is to continue operating your business with the baseline health, safety, and staffing standards as prior to the award. If your program finds they need to reduce staff hours or furlough staff to stay in operations, please reach out to childcaregrants@pcgus.com. If your program closes within 6 months of receiving this grant, please note that DHS may make efforts to recoup grant funds, in part or whole, as a condition of this application. The federal guidance also asks programs to provide financial relief to parents to the extent possible for those in need. The final certification statement asks you to agree that these funds will not be used to replace other federal funding sources. For example, if a program is receiving federal funds for the exclusive purchase of purchasing PPE, this grant award should not be used to purchase PPE in place of the other federal grant. All grant recipients should retain records to demonstrate that unique expenditures of different state and federal funds. Finally, you will be presented with attestation language asking you to affirm the accuracy of this application, your program's responsibilities in receiving these funds, which may include tax consequences, auditing or state reporting requirements, and funds are to be spent in alignment with state and federal guidance, that your program is in good standing with DHS licensing. If your program participates in Rhode Island's Child Care Assistance Program, CCAP, it must also be in good standing with CCAP. That any previously submitted banking information is accurate, and that your program will comply with any additional federal guidance posted on the ACF website at acf.hhs.gov. Please take your time to read this attestation language, and if you have any questions, please reach out to childcaregrants@pcgus.com or toll free at 833-930-3540 for support in English or Spanish. Finally, you will be asked to indicate your agreement to these statements and digitally sign the application by entering your name and date in the appropriate fields. As a reminder, the signature on this application must match the name on the applicant profile. Once completed, select the Submit button. When you submit your application successfully, a green notification will appear on your screen indicating successful completion. You will also receive a confirmation email. Once you have successfully submitted your application, your applicant profile will show that submitted application on the dashboard with the status Awaiting Review. From here, you can click into your application to review at any time. You can check on the status of your application in your applicant profile at any time by logging into your applicant profile and viewing your submitted application. Once awarded, the status will be updated to award. The application portal will not be updated to reflect if a direct deposit or check has been distributed, only that it has been awarded. If you have any questions about the status of your application or need assistance tracking the status of your payment, please contact us at childcaregrants@pcgus.com. Part 3. Guidance on Spending Funds. There are 6 primary ways in which programs can use their awarded Child Care Stabilization Grant money, including personnel costs, equipment or supplies to respond to COVID-19, goods or services necessary to maintain ongoing child care services, mental health supports, personal protective equipment, and rent or mortgage/facility costs. Please note, awarded funds may be used to pay for past expenses incurred after January 31st, 2020 related to the COVID-19 public health emergency. A primary spending category to explore is related to personnel costs. Programs are strongly encouraged to use their awarded funds to support providers, which may include the program owner or assistants. DHS recognizes the hard work early educators and program staff have conducted over the past year, and we hope this grant funding can provide them with one-time or ongoing financial relief. Allowable personnel expenses include existing payroll costs, employee benefits such as health, dental, or vision insurance, paid sick or family leave, or retirement contributions, transportation expenses to or from work, ongoing professional development or training courses, scholarships, and support in accessing the COVID-19 vaccine. Let's explore other spending categories. Equipment or supplies to respond to COVID-19. This category includes the purchases or updates to equipment and supplies needed to respond to the COVID-19 public health emergency. Examples include business software upgrades to allow the program to more accurately monitor and report on children in the program, or room dividers and floor stickers to encourage social distancing. Goods or services necessary to maintain child care services. Goods and services are the items necessary to maintain or resume day-to-day child care services. These are items like food, equipment and materials to facilitate play, learning, diapering and toileting, and safe sleep. It can also include transportation costs or food services. Personal protective equipment. This category includes personal protective equipment like masks or gloves, cleaning and sanitation supplies and services, or training. Funds can be used for professional development related to health and safety practices, such as a course on CPR and first aid, safe sleep, creating emergency plans, administration of medication, and other health and safety courses required for licensure. Grant funds may also be spent on rent or mortgage/facility costs. Aside from rent or mortgage payments, funds may also be used to pay for utilities, facility maintenance or improvements, or insurance costs. Improvements to facilities may include modifications to make the program space more accessible to children or families with disabilities. Mental health supports. To support staff or children in care, programs may choose to invest grant funds into providing mental health supports. Information on infant and early childhood mental health consultation may be found at the link on the screen. Please note, business taxes are not an allowable spending category per ACF guidance. For additional information related to tax expenditures, please review the grant record keeping guidance at kids.ri.gov/funding opportunities. The intention of these grants is to provide needed support to stabilize childcare programs over the long term. When a program receives their 6 monthly grants, it is important the program is thoughtfully and strategically planned out how to use their funds. Let's look at examples of how programs may spend their funds. EVA is a family child care provider who was awarded a lump sum payment of $12,000 in January 2022. Before Eva spends any of her money, she sits down to think through how she could use her funds in a thoughtful way over time. So, she decides that she will try to only spend $2,000 each month instead of spending it all in the first month. First, she looks at spending guidance for the grant. She sees that the federal guidance includes relieving parents from tuition if possible. She has 3 new families enrolling and decides she will use $150 to pay their enrollment and registration fees. Next, she looks at her program to see what is needed to stabilize her business and ensure that she can remain open. Eva knows during her last monitoring inspection, there was a concern about a chipped tile on the bathroom floor. She decides to spend $400 to retile the bathroom floor. With the remaining $1,450 for the month, she decides to use the money to pay part of her mortgage and for PPE for the program. At the end of the month, Eva will sit down to plan how to use her next month's $2,000 and to see what the program might need. Mona is also a family child care provider who received $12,000 in a lump sum payment. When Mona thinks about how to spend her money, she knows she has $4,000 in credit card debt from buying diapers, paper towels, and program supplies last spring when enrollment was down. She decides to use $4,000 from her award to pay off the debt she incurred in running her program. Now she has $8,000 to spend on her program needs. Mona knows there's a family in the program who is struggling to pay their tuition last month. She decides to offer that family a 50% scholarship, valued at $500, for the next month using her grant funds. Then she decides to dedicate $1,250 of the grant funds to each month's mortgage for the next 6 months. For additional information on spending guidance, please visit kids.ri.gov/funding opportunities. As these are federal funds being used to support your business operations, there is always a possibility you may be audited to ensure funds were spent appropriately. You must keep a record of receipt of funds as well as a record of how these funds were spent. This may be done by retaining receipts of purchase, documentation around staff wages or stipends or bonuses, or invoices. It is recommended businesses retain proof of spending for a minimum of 5 years. Additional guidance related to the potential auditing or record-keeping requirements may be found on ACF's website under Office of Child Care COVID-19 Resources. For questions about spending awarded funds, contact childcaregrants@pcgus.com or toll free at 833-930-3540. Part 4. Frequently asked questions and technical assistance resources. If you have any questions, check out the FAQ document, which may be found at kids.ri.gov/funding opportunities. You may also reach out to childcaregrants@pcgus.com or toll free at 833-930-3540 for assistance in English or Spanish. Question. I'm a child care provider outside of Rhode Island, but I serve Rhode Island children. Am I eligible to apply? Answer. No. Programs must be located in Rhode Island to apply. Question. When will I receive the funding? Answer. DHS expects for payments to be made within 30 business days of receipt of a completed application. Question. Do I have to accept CCAP, Child Care Assistance Program, or participate in Bright Stars to be eligible to apply for these funds? Answer. No. Every licensed child care program and active license-exempt providers are eligible for this grant, regardless of their participation in CCAP or Bright Stars. Question. Do I have to provide spending receipts to DHS after the award has been made? Answer. DHS is not currently requiring the submission of receipts or proof of spending. However, these federal funds may be subject to federal audit, in which case proof of spending and receipts will be crucial to ensure that funds were spent appropriately. It is a business best practice to keep records of all funds spent related to your business. Question. Do I need to pay these funds back? Answer. These grant funds come from federal law, the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, and as a grant do not need to be paid back. However, as part of the application, you will be required to attest to remaining open and in good standing with the state for the duration of the grant period. Where a program's license closes or is no longer in good standing, the the state may take action steps to recoup part or whole of the grant awards issued. Question: what type of documentation do I need to maintain to document expenditure of these funds? Answer: applicants must retain supporting documentation including receipts, bank statements, invoices, or similar. Applicants may be asked for documentation before or after the award is made. Accordingly, applicants should have supporting documentation for all eligible expenses and must be able to make those available upon request. It is recommended businesses retain their records for a minimum of 5 years. Please note, DHS will not be conducting an audit or record-keeping review. Question: could I be audited as a result of receiving these funds? Answer: yes. As these are federal funds, you may be audited to ensure that funds were spent appropriately. Please keep a record of receipt of funds as well as a record of how these funds were spent. Additional guidance related to the potential auditing or record-keeping requirements may be found on the ACF website under the Office of Child Care COVID-19 Resources at the link on the screen. Make sure you review the resources available at kids.ri.gov/funding opportunities, including the Business Resource Toolkit for your provider type and Grant Record Keeping Resource, which includes resources and recommendations regarding documentation, record keeping, and auditing. Our team is here to support you throughout the application process. If you need any additional support in completing your application or have questions related to this grant, the following technical assistance opportunities are available for you in English and Spanish. 1. Weekly office hours. Home-based providers are invited to office hours on Tuesdays from 6 to 7 p.m. beginning October 19th. Please reach out to childcaregrants@pcgus.com for the Zoom link. 2. Provider support email inbox. Send questions to childcaregrants@pcgus.com for additional support in completing the grant application. 3. Call our toll-free hotline to speak to a support staff member at 833-930-3540. This hotline is staffed from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. 4. Posted materials and resources. Visit kids.ri.gov/funding opportunities to find resources such as the FAQ, how to create an applicant profile, step-by-step application guide, and links to the recorded webinars. With the influx of federal grants related to COVID-19, many scammers are looking to take advantage of providers by collecting their personal data. The following website will provide information to help you identify and protect yourself against these scams. Please be aware that all communications related to your grant application will come from childcaregrants@pcgus.com. If you are ever unsure of the source of communication or resources, please verify with our team at childcaregrants@pcgus.com. Thank you for participating in this webinar. We hope this has been helpful to you. If you have any questions or feedback regarding this webinar or any of its contents, please reach out to childcaregrants@pcgus.com or toll free at 833-930-3540.